Hello everyone, Stefan here. Welcome to stream number 8, I think it is. Number 8. Can you believe this? Already 7 streams done. That's pretty, it's pretty crazy. It goes really fast. I'm gonna try not to, like I said last time, to stream every other day. So it'll be always same days now during the week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 for me on the West Coast. So fortunately, that's midnight for you guys on the East Coast. But if you're an early bird in Europe, I guess that could do it for you, because in France it'll be 6 in the morning over there. So I guess for Europe, if there's some people from Europe here, welcome. And yeah, I hope it's not too early for you guys. I think the problem is that I was thinking streaming even earlier, around 6 for here for my time, which would be better for the East Coast, because it would be 9 for the East Coast. But then Europe would never get the chance to see any of the streams. So I don't know. I don't know what's the best. We'll go like this for now, and we'll see. So last time I finished this one. It was the first time I did a car on stream, if you remember. Christine from the John Carpenter movie. It's not exactly, it's always the case every time I've finished something on stream. Usually it'll never be exactly to the pixel, the last version, because like I said, I like to always leave a little bit of time for things to rest before considering them done, especially when, not that it's definitive, but I don't like posting something right away, because most of the time I'll catch some pretty obvious stuff that I could fix, and then if I just posted it, it's a little bit late. So that's why you'll always see a little bit of difference between what you see when I close the stream usually and the next day. But it's not in that case, for her, it's not a huge deal. But I just changed a little bit the shape of the hood. Was a little too straight in the front. Didn't feel like there was like the nice curvature to it. I realized that I forgot that car had 2 round chrome rear mirrors that are pretty situated in front of the windshield, actually, not really on the side. So did this, and also I tried to render a little bit better the white trim on the tires, because that's something that's very iconic from the car in the 50s. A lot of them were like that. So just a few things. Not a big deal, definitely. So I guess if you've read the title for the stream, I think today we're gonna do another character. Go back to the characters, and I think what I want to try is Cornelius, this guy from Planet of the Apes, this fellow. So I really love Planet of the Apes. Absolutely love that film. I've seen it I don't know how many times. Really fascinated me when I was a kid. I don't know what was so strong about it. It really left an impression on me when I was a kid. It was kind of both really exciting and mysterious, and there's a sense of wonder in it. And at the same time, I remember being a bit scared by it. It was quite frightening. It was weird, you know. It was very weird seeing those apes talking and the way they treat human beings. I guess we're not so used to things working in that sense. You know, we usually were more at the top of the food chain for for good or for worse. But and I guess that's probably what resonated with a lot of people. So yeah, the film was done, released in 1968. Franklin Schaffner made it, and it was based on a French book actually, called La Planète des Singes. I can say that in France. For once, it'll be useful that I can speak French, which literally means the planet of the apes. And the author, Pierre Boulle, was a pretty famous author in France, and he actually made one of his probably his most famous book, was also adapted on screen. It was The Bridge on the River Kwai. That was a really great movie, very epic production from David Lean, who did a bunch of other movies in that, with that sense of epic and history, like Dr. Zhivago or Lawrence of Arabia. But Pierre Boulle, originally, he actually didn't, when he was approached by I think it was Fox to make because they wanted to purchase the rights of his story. It wasn't even published at the time, and he was actually not too happy with the idea of them making a movie, because he felt like it was too it was kind of an inferior genre, science fiction. Definitely in the 50s, it was definitely regarded as some sort of a mediocre, genre, not very serious. And himself, he was not too convinced that it was worth doing a film with Planet of the Apes. And it actually took quite a bit of convincing from Jacobs, the producer, who eventually convinced Robert Zanuck, who was the exec at the time at Fox, to finance the film. They ended up with a close to $6 million budget, I think, which doesn't seem a lot, but in 1968 it was a big budget, and they had almost $1 million entirely for just makeup, prosthetics, and costumes, because it was very avant-garde. Groundbreaking makeup and prosthetics that they did. The guy who did that actually, because originally they didn't want no one wanted to finance the film. Even Zanuck, who liked the story, he didn't want to finance it because he thought, I mean, on paper that might be cool, but unless we can pull off actual apes talking and being convincing, it might look really silly and actually quite laughable. And that's the last thing you want of your big epic science fiction project, that everyone laughs at it, So then he asks, they paid $5,000 at the time. They already had signed Charlton Heston, who's a big star at the time. He had already had an Oscar for Ben-Hur, and he was fully on board with the project, so that definitely helped. And they did a little test, a screen test, and with the makeup, and he was Charlton Heston, Taylor, talking to Zayas in a tent or something. You can see this footage on the net. It's actually available on all DVD extras. And Zanuck, he liked what he saw. It was a very primitive, quick, sort of rough version of the prosthetics that they would use in the movie, but that served as proof of concept, and they ended up financing, greenlighting the film because of that test. But after that, they came, and another guy came on board. It was a different guy. It was interestingly, the guy who made all the latex prosthetics and masks was actually a guy who was specialized in making prosthetic limbs and faces and facial reconstruction with latex for World War II soldiers who unfortunately had been, had lost a limb or had been disfigured on the battlefield. So he was very good at, he knew how to make things that looked natural, as close as possible as real, and that you could wear for long periods of time, because it was meant to be basically your sort of face replacement, you know. So they and after the war, he thought that I can't remember his name. He thought he could maybe be useful in the movie industry, who that needed a lot of more and more of those makeups, and that's how he did. It was the first time they used like soft latex that they molded on top of people's faces, but the whole thing was a nightmare. It took 5 to 6 hours to properly make up one of the main the title characters. It was a big deal. It was very difficult, and it was shot in Arizona, so you can imagine it was like 115 outside, and those poor actors, they had to wear latex on their face and their bodies entire covered for 12, 16, 20 hours a day sometimes. They couldn't have meals or anything. They had to liquefy all the meals for the actors so they can take their lunch with a straw through the prosthetics. Pretty crazy. But anyway, this film is really special. I remember reading the book as a kid. I read it in France, and the structure is not too dissimilar. Actually, the draft was originally written by Rod Serling, who did, if you guys know, very famous for creating the Twilight Zone. And he was approached by Jacobs, who thought he was probably a good candidate to adapt the film. And the film has some differences, like there's actually a different twist at the end. Instead of Taylor realizing that they all this time, all along, they had been on Earth, and they had come back on Earth, and thousands of years in the future. In the book, the story, it was found. It was written in the 50s, I think, or 40s. So it was very naive. The story was told from the first person of Taylor, and it was found in a bottle on a message that was floating in space. And two people, a rich couple, they find they're in their own spaceship, and they find that bottle, and they read the story. And at the end, Taylor, which has a different name, I think he's Ulysses, goes back to Earth, and they actually end up going back to Earth, and they found Earth just like they left it, with the Eiffel Tower. They land in Paris because it was a French book. But then when they land, they realize that everyone, cops and they were greeted by apes. And so they realized that for some odd, weird reason, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, the Earth had followed the same evolution as the other planet where they came from, where apes had taken control, which really doesn't make any sense. And as a matter of fact, it's weird because Tim Burton kind of did that in his movie, which was horrible. Remember, they have the whole thing, and then Marky Mark goes back to Earth, and then the guys, I think a couple of cops arrive on the scene, and they remove the helmet, and they're chimpanzees, and Abraham Lincoln has been replaced by a chimpanzee, and everyone's like, what? No one understood it. It made no sense. But weirdly enough, it was actually close to the ending of what the author had written at the time, which is really, like, not too many people know that it was actually that ending. But there was another twist in the book. You realize that at the very end, the people who found the message and read the story, years and years after Taylor tells it, they're actually apes themselves, and they completely disregard the story as a scam, because they figured out, well, no human could ever write anything anyway, so that doesn't make any sense. So they take this as a scam, as a joke. And but I think the ending that we got in the film was much better actually. And what's funny is that Pierre Boulle, the author, was actually quite mad about it. He didn't like the ending. But then later, years later, he finally admitted that he was mad, not because he was bad, but because he didn't think about it. And he was kind of, that was the ultimate slap in the face for an author, that someone takes your book, and instead of ruining it like you would expect, they actually improve on it and make a better ending. So that he didn't like that too much, but at least he was honest enough to admit it later on. So anyway, so that's a few things about the film. I could talk about this movie for literally 5 hours, and I would still have stuff to say. I don't think you guys are here for that, so we're gonna try and make something instead. So yeah, Cornelius, this guy, he's those two those two apes. They're very much at the front and center of the story, um, because they're the only apes in the film that are sympathetic to humans a little bit. They're researchers, they're scientists, and they kind of wonder, um, especially Zira. She feels like there's a missing link in apes evolution. She can't quite understand, how apes eventually become what they are, and she sees a relationship with humans, but the humans, they're like animals, so they're a bit, baffled by the whole thing. They don't know quite to think of it, but they feel that there's something that doesn't quite work. And then the orangutans, who are more like the scholars and the historians, and they're protectors of the sort of culture and traditions of the apes. They want to really put a lid on this theory, because they feel like it's dangerous if maybe apes were not always the dominant species on Earth. So they try to cover that up if they can. Um, so that's those two guys. They end up finding Taylor, who's the only human, the first human who can actually speak. And then there's a famous court scene where they try to demonstrate that he is a thinking and sentient being. And the orangutans, they try to dismiss this theory and prove that Taylor is just really just imitating Have's behavior, but he can't really think by himself. Lots of really, really great scenes, very clever movie. What I love about Planet of the Apes too is that it was a film that was it was very entertaining. Just the sheer entertainment value was great. It was exciting. There was a sense of adventure. It was very much like the discovery of a new world, and but at the same time, there was some pretty strong themes, and but they didn't, like, spoon fed too much the social commentary. They kind of kept it just where it should be, so it's in the background. I think it's always better when people, they don't try to force too much, their agenda or their views, or a certain view of the world in their film, because I feel like you never, at least to me, I feel like you're never really efficient if you're trying to convey something, if you're a little too obvious about it. So yeah, really, really great film. And then they made four other sequels after that, up until 1973. They really churned them out quickly, one after another, because it was very successful at the time, and the studio made a lot of money with it. It was one of the first times I had a really big franchise like this. Now it's a common thing. They always want to, make as many movies as they can. But at the time, it was not something that very usual. Um, so what do you say we do this guy, Cornelius? I really like the costumes. They did a really good job. That's also why I'm interested in trying this guy because it's such an iconic costumes. All the chimps, they were like the scientists and the researchers. They were a little more gentle, a little more benevolent, and they wore their sort of green, earthy tones, with the leather. The orangutans, they were more like the scholars and the politicians and people in power, and they had the orange outfit, and the gorillas, they were black and purple, and they were in the military. Um, but what was great is that all the costumes, they're actually quite different from one species to another, very, very, very specific. But the visual language of it, I think this is a good lesson for future art directors out there, people who want to be production designers, to see how much of the sense of an actual real culture you have when you look at those costumes. They really fit this idea of a society that's still a little primitive, with a lot of theology and faith even embedded in the costume, with those weird scriptures, and also the different species looking very specific, very different, and yet all part of the same culture. So I think it's pretty interesting to do to maybe try that. See, if I was looking for a few reference. I really like this one also because he always had this pose. Roddy McDowell was a very good actor who played Cornelius, and he really came up with the whole sort of leaning, slightly hunched forward, leaning forward stance that he has during the entire film. She's a little more straight up, you see, almost like she's a little more evolved. And he came up with the idea of the gorillas. They're actually even more, a little more hunched forward because they're a little less smart, and the smarter they get, the straighter they stand. And that's why Zira, who really is the brain of the two, even more than him, he's an idealistic, but she's really very much like a researcher, and you can see how straight she stands. So that's interesting because all of this, they thought about it. It's not just random, it didn't come as a coincidence. So I think it'd be cool to try and convey this sort of little sort of unassuming pose. Could be good. What else is there? Let me see if I find any other. But I think this is a good one. Oh, actually, here I have the entire. I have the entire picture, so that's even the feed. Look, it's crazy. You can't really tell on the picture, but they even thought about the shoes, because the shoes, you can actually see the long toes, the long fingers. They're very much like hands on the ground as well. And they wear those weird shoes where you can actually see the individual toes. They're not really shoes like this, very much like thought for to really showcase the fact that they almost still walk on their hind legs, or back legs, I should say. Lots of thinking in that design. There's a lot of stuff when you look at it. See those, the gorillas. They were more menacing. They had the purple and that a lot more leather too, more aggressive. And the orangutans, they had this sort of orange. They were more regal, you know. That's Zaius. This guy, he's onto something not good in the film. He knows what's going on, you know, since the beginning, but he doesn't want anyone to figure it out. He doesn't want to know that they all, before the apes, the humans, they were in charge. You know, he doesn't want that to for anyone to find out. This was the general. But you know, I think this is, honestly, this is good. We can go with that, and we'll see where that leads us. So let me see. I wonder if I have any sprite that has somewhat of something I could start from. Not really. Not really. I think it's probably better to just start from scratch. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could. I'm just gonna take our friend Freddy. It has nothing to do, but at least I'll have more or less size of the legs. You know, very basic humanoid proportions. Just so that I don't end up completely off right off the bat. Not that I would, but you know, like I said, I'm all for making my life as easy as I can, right? I mean, why not? Okay, so we'll bring this guy over here. Let me see if I have my guides. I use those. Yeah, see, this is convenient. This gives me usually the waistline and more or less top of the head for men. Okay, keep a little window on the side here. Always good to keep an eye on what's going on at smaller size. And I'll keep this guy, I think. For now, so I'm only interested in just basic proportions and pose. It's not going to be a very, the only thing, it's not going to be a very interesting pose. That's the only thing. It's going to be like, meh, you know. I mean, frankly, it's not great. But at the same time, any other pose, anything where it looks very, it conveys something a little cool, or if I make a pose that looks even a little bit like he has a you know, a strong personality, then I think it's a bit off, because really this character is very, you know, he's kind of shy, he's unassuming. He still wants to help Taylor, and they go even risks his own life, you know, and the life of his wife, Azira. But she's way more determined. You can tell also the way she looks and the way she talks in the film. He's more of a, you know, he doesn't want too much trouble if he can avoid it, you know. And honestly, he's more like following after her to make sure that she doesn't get killed in this, rather than really himself trying to prove something, you know. Which I thought was a really good dynamic between the two. They had a really interesting, they were a really interesting couple. She was a very strong female character, interestingly enough. She was an ape, but she was probably one of the best female characters they had at the time. Without her, Taylor couldn't have survived, you know. We'll pick some kind of green. Any green will do for now. We'll fix it later. I'm going to keep preserve transparency here. This little button, very useful. You probably know it, but if you don't, all that does is it says to Photoshop that no matter where you're going to paint in this layer, the transparency is going to be preserved. And so that means that if I paint 100% opaque like this, Photoshop won't paint outside because this is zero transparency. And so if I paint on top, it preserves zero transparency. So effectively what that does is that you can actually paint on something and you make sure that you're never going to go outside of the actual pixels that are there. You know, so I don't have to follow closely, you know, the lines. I don't have to do this, you know, precisely, because, you know, if I mess up, it goes outside. But if I take preserve transparency, then I don't have to worry about it. So it's pretty convenient. Remember, guys, too, something I mentioned last time, if you want to keep, you can combine this with color mode. So you paint in color here. So what that does is it'll paint, so it'll preserve transparency, but also it will preserve the value of things. And so all it will do is putting the same hue everywhere. And so that's a very good thing if you want to, for instance, quickly change the color of something, but you want to keep all the shading, all the rendering, and all the values, then you can do that. So I wish I had a bigger screen, not gonna lie, or that I could put the reference on a separate screen, but then you guys couldn't see it, and that kind of defies the purpose, I guess, you know. It's all right though. I'm used to have a tiny screen. So really what's important there is really just the overall silhouette. So he has those weird sort of like sweatpants. They're tight at around the ankle, but they seem to be, well, not that much actually. Well, that's the other guy. A little more tight around the ankles. This is interesting. I'm gonna get rid of preserve transparency now because I'm gonna change a little bit the shape of the legs. Hey Pixel Bleed, how are you? How are you, man? How have you been doing? It's good fun last time to play that game. I was still impressed later on. Thought about all the guys. The last time Pixel Bleed here, he played a little game. I have a bunch of characters that I did for the people who are not there at a super small size like this, very tiny. It was at the time where I wanted to use this size, and then I ended up making bigger sprites. But and he went through the entire thing, and he found something like 95% of all the characters. He was able to say who they were and in which film, which is really impressive. I think some of them are pretty obvious, but some definitely are a bit tricky, and yeah, did pretty good. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Pixel, for sure. This is typically looking for trouble doing this guy, because he really doesn't have a lot of very interesting things going on. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting for sure. It might be a little, yeah, it might be interesting. We'll see. We'll see if we can make it work, you know. And there's always a way, you know, but it's true that um, some characters or some, you know, whatever you do, or some environments, they will just naturally look a lot better, much more easily, because they're interesting in them, of themselves, you know, which is really not necessarily the case for him. Not only does he have, I mean, it's a good outfit. I don't want to use the boring, but at that size, it really is a little bit boring. You know, it's interesting when you see it in the context of the film, and with the you know, the ape face doing you know, acting and all that stuff. But as a simple little guy, yeah, there's really not that much to really get too excited. And on top of that, the pose is not the best. It's a very simple pose. Doesn't really convey much. So, you know, I may have to change the pose eventually. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a case of trying to make something, and kind of fighting with it a little bit. We'll see. Oh yeah, yeah, Photoshop. Yeah, yeah. I've used Photoshop for a very long time. I think when I started, I mean, actually, I've used Photoshop without layers, so that tells you something. I knew of a time where there was no layers in Photoshop. You know, when layers came, we were like, it was a revolution. Literally, it was like the best. I think it's probably the best feature that I can actually consciously remember seeing implemented for the first time in a software. You know, the layers in Photoshop. That was the, like, because it was one of those things that um, like most of things that are true genius, it's the things that seem completely obvious after the fact, and that you wonder, like, what, how come you didn't have layers in Photoshop? That doesn't make any sense. Like, of course you had layers. Like, everyone has layers. How can you even work without layers? But yeah, there was no layers, and it was actually quite a significant idea. And then everyone started to do that, but you know, it came from somewhere. They were not always there. So yeah, for sure, I remember that, and I was like, wow, now we can really. It made the life of illustrators so much easier. All of a sudden, it was like uh, such a breakthrough. And when you think of it, it doesn't. It's a fairly simple idea. You know, it doesn't seem like that special now, at least. Um, but yeah, I'm always glad to talk about the the pure sort of technical aspect of things. If you guys have questions, definitely not going to be able to answer everything, obviously, because there's always something new that I don't know about and that I learn. But if I can help, I'll try for sure. So it's the part where everything looks a bit crap. Sorry for my French. But that's the part, you know. Like I said, we have to go through that moment. It's not going to be too much fun, but we have to do it. Yeah, no problem, Pixel Bean. See you later then. Have a good shower. Yeah, that film was mind blowing. That really impressed me a lot. Two movies impressed me. Well, actually, more than two. But I remember in particular two movies that really impressed me a lot when I was a kid. And I think it's only because I saw them where I was not supposed to. I was way too young. One was 2001 Space Odyssey. And the other one was The Right Stuff. Interestingly, two sort of space conquest movies. And the reason was that one of my best friend in school and in life, his father, he was a big space nerd. And I remember they had at their place, his parents, they were much richer than mine. We were not. I mean, we were okay, but my friend, they had much more money, and I remember his father. He had all those super cool models of the space shuttle, the first space shuttle, and when it's attached to the 747, for the drops, and all of that. He had a lunar lander module, like really nice and crafted models, and I was super impressed by that. I was like, wow, it was a going to my friend's place. It was like going to NASA or something. It felt like super, like being in a place that is very unique, that has a lot of very sophisticated and cool things to see. And so his father, he was like I said, he was a big nerd. He was a big space nerd, and he was And so he brought us to see 2001 when it came out. No, it wasn't. No, not when it came out because it was way too young. But they had, I guess they had the movie in theaters. It was somewhere around 76 or something, and a few theaters probably still had were running the film regularly. And he brought us to see this, and I remember I couldn't understand any of it. I was like, what is this? I couldn't understand any of it. It was so bizarre, but I was fascinated, and I didn't sleep. And I think I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I went through the entire 2001, the Space Odyssey. I mean, most adults can go through that film without sleeping, but not me. I thought that was incredible, even though I didn't know what I was watching at all. But I thought it was brilliant. Took me a while before I could actually um, finally understand what it was about. And it took me quite a bunch of times. It took me a bunch of viewings, and also it took me. I went as far as to read the book that was adapted from his own script from Arthur C. Clarke, because it was still hard to understand. But the book does actually a very good job at explaining the film. Very good job. And so the other movie that he brought us to see was The Right Stuff. The Right Stuff was same thing. And most of it I didn't quite understand what was going on. But I sure remember the crazy X-1 aircraft, and all the crazy cool costumes, the Gemini outfit, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that was something else. I was very, very impressed by that. It was really great. But I think they made this impression because I just didn't understand what it was about. So I guess it had this very mysterious feel. It was just like, to me, it was like watching something from another world. I didn't understand what it was about, but it was all very different than anything I was used to see back then. Can you imagine in France in the 70s? That's not the kind of stuff that we were used to see as kids. Mm-mm-mm. Sometimes I'll just even very early, I'll start putting little lines here and there, just to define shoulders and things like this. Um, they help me a little bit in figuring how things fall into place. So if you guys are interested in watching the other streams, they're all there except for the first two. In the beginning, I didn't know you could record the streams and put them on and have them automatically uploaded in the video section. But now I know. So so I missed a couple, but you'll be able to see most of them if you guys are interested in seeing what I did earlier or before that. I think I will also eventually I'm gonna make time 8 speed ups, time lapses of everything, so you'll be able to see something like that done in maybe 10-15 minutes or so. But that stuff's gonna take a little bit of time because I have to basically record another voiceover on top, another commentary, because obviously I can't speed up the sound that I have here, so I have to do another recording on top and then do a quick editing where I remove all the all the moments where I don't really like the introduction when I talked about the film. I'm not gonna leave this in the YouTube file. That might be something that I was thinking maybe some people would be maybe a bit interested to see. Just gonna flip it real quick. Looks a bit fat. When you look at the actor, Roddy McDowell was actually quite a lean guy. He's in shape, and you can tell that this guy he's not a big guy, So I have to make sure that it doesn't come out as fat or something like that. There's a very straight line there that I'm trying to get. I'm gonna change the background real quick. It's always a bit tiring to paint on white. Put back white later on, but not now. It's just easier for the eyes, and even for you guys, if you watch this in the dark, it's probably way better. I try to suggest the bend in the knee. So for this, usually try to have the you know, the upper part of the leg, the thigh, and then I want to feel that break here. So usually what I'll do is to emphasize that I'll do this, like you can see here very clearly. This spot is brighter because the sun is, you know, hitting it, but this spot it's recessed, it's going backwards a little bit because of the bend, and so this is in shadow. So it's always a good trick to you know, for legs. So I'll usually I'll do that. See, something like that. Just a matter of finding where I want the knee to be. And this leg, what I can do is have do the same thing, but I'll go darker because I pretend that it's a little more, you know, that he's a little angled, and so this leg receives a little more shadow than this one. Sometimes I'll do that just to give it a little bit more form to the character. But you'll see, I'm going to guarantee you, can make a prediction right now, that I'm going to struggle quite a bit with legs, because I always do. I mean, I kind of struggle with everything, but legs in particular, particularly bad with legs. I think I find that legs, they always to me they're rarely something interesting, you know. Like arms, I feel like very often I have an idea of more or less of a pose for arms, of something I could do with them. But legs, I don't know, it's always a bit it's like I'm never good with them. I don't really express much with them. I think it's really something that I should try and work on, because I see some people, they have, like the people who are really good at characters, I feel like they know, they have this sense of making a pose where everything really works for them. They have a lot of, it's very dynamic, you know. Just gonna do one color for now because I'm getting confused with this thing, and right now I just want to shape the exact outline. It's better to keep it simple in the beginning, you know. I'm trying to shade too much and do all sorts of fancy tricks, because at least for me, I feel like it's a little more difficult when I have to, on top of, you know, finding the pose and you know, the design, if there's design, and on top of all the issues of lighting and everything. If I have to do everything at the same time, it's a little. So oftentimes I try to keep things very blocky, very simple first, to try and limit the pain, you know. Just looking at size quickly. I'm gonna try to. I have no idea how I'm gonna make the head, but it's okay. First, just gonna try simple for now. Then we'll come back to this. We'll see that later. There's definitely this sort of shape in the face. This sort of, I think that's really what this sort of skull outline. You know, it does very much like, you know, this, and then, you know, it's like the skull, right? And So I think this is the only thing that I can really try and convey, if I can. But it's small, but it's this sort of stuff, if I can. I think that's really the only thing. And then this is fairly big around here, more than this side. So this is because the head is turned. So those are the few things that I can try and convey. Not much more at this size, at least. So it's tricky. Come back to this later. Just gonna try and get all the stuff first, the basics, and then so somewhat slowly getting somewhere for the body. But definitely not there yet. Something interesting and actually socially quite interesting happened on when they were filming. So you see, because they couldn't, because the prosthetics and all the makeup was so long to apply, all the extras, they had 200 extras at times wearing the masks and everything, 200 apes at the same time on screen, or at least on set, and because they couldn't, it took so long to apply the makeup and everything, and they obviously couldn't. It took them a few hours to get ready, and then they couldn't. Then came lunchtime, and they couldn't remove any of it because it would have taken too long to redo, and so so they were asked to keep their makeup at all times. And what's interesting is after a while they realized that all the gorillas, the people who were dressed up as gorillas, they started to form cliques of gorillas, and then all the orangutans they hang out with the orangutans, and all the chimps there were together. So, but no one had asked anyone to do that. They were free to go everywhere and talk to anyone they wanted. But for some reason, they recreated the separate species that they had in the film, and they ended up hanging out only with their own species. It's just really weird when you think of it. So I feel like the pose is not too bad. He kind of has this unassuming look, like he looks a little hesitant, you know, or like he wonders. He has this sort of like curious, a little bit not frightened but cautious attitude. Yeah, he's too wide. I think it's part of him to be a little narrow, especially at the shoulders, you know. That's what makes him a little awkward looking. See if I can just have some lighting there on top. Nope. Remember, this will be on white, so I have to see. I have to take this into account. This seemed like it was disappearing because the values are close, but on white it's okay. I bring back the shoulder, which is what I wanted. I think this needs to be smaller. All right, and I wonder if I need a little bit of an angle in this thing. It's a shame because it's not a very good angle. Again, it's one of those where you don't really want to have that, but I want to avoid him looking too big. That's what I want to avoid. Maybe in his case, I think having a shadow will be a good thing for, you know, I cast shadow from all this hair. It will might be a good thing to have. we'll see. Something I was thinking of doing also, not now or in the immediate future, because I don't, like I said, I don't really know enough of um, if what I do is, is interesting for people to watch or whatnot. Um, but eventually I was thinking maybe once in a while, like a Friday night or so, I would maybe stream a little bit of gaming, but not as a because I mean there are so many people who stream games already, and they do that so much better than I can ever do anyway. So there's really no point in me doing this. But I was thinking maybe more as a sort of as a um, um, little discovery night, showing games that have interesting art styles, and especially pixel art, um, things of that nature, or games that influenced me, or that I like, that I played when I was a kid, or even modern games that uh, Switch has a ton of really cool indie indie games that look very impressive, very beautiful and unique, have very strong visual and interesting visual styles, and I'd be happy to share some of that with you guys. See what you guys think of those games, and the ones you like, and why. So it's interesting to also to look at what all the people are doing out there. So much good stuff that I feel like this is very, very iconic. Those lines they have on the sleeves. Um, Unfortunately, with pixel art, you know very well that there's never enough pixels. So if I wanted to have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 plus this, it would be 1, 2 plus that. It would be, let's say, this plus that plus two lines. It might be a little too much. Maybe it's all right. Sometimes it's fine to make things just a little less complex, as long as you keep the idea, and that they're recognizable. This we're gonna try and go a little lighter than for now. But anyway, if that is something that you guys would like to see, um, just checking interesting games or things like that, then we can do that once in a while. Um, Oops. Here I have to do this little trick in order to, because if I do this, the angle is really awkward and you see it. It's not great. But doing this little trick makes it a little easier on the eye. That's really the only time when I'm gonna use those, you know, half pixels that are like that are right in between two values, and really the sole purpose of that is just to make sure that it doesn't those lines don't look too big, too prominent, you know. I want to make sure that that I have at least 1 pixel, because they already have those sleeves that are a little wider. I think he's getting there, slowly but surely. Yeah, if you guys see something that you're in front of your screen and you've been screaming for the last half hour for me to do something that is obvious and that I don't see, please put it in the in the chat, all right? Because I want to enjoy the fact that I have a few more eyes here to look at things. Might as well. So they have also those interesting lines, convergent lines here. So I think I probably need some of that. We'll see if we can make them. Here it's really more about suggesting some kind of detail than actually showing anything specific, because there's just no space for that. So I just have to just suggest a little bit of something. It's really too small in order to you know, to do this. But if I can suggest that there's some kind of little detail, that's you know, that's probably all we need, to be honest. Just move this guy around. Indy next to Planet of the Apes. He's too dark, so I'm just gonna, for a white background, so I'm just gonna fix this a bit. Still want his outfit to feel very dark, you know. Look at, compared to them, it's fairly dark, so I don't want to go too bright either, but just a bit. I think saturation is a bit high. That feels a bit better. Cornelius, he was a good character. He was nice. I really liked him. The shirt goes lower to the hands levels. Oh, you mean, oh, right, yeah, this, the hem of the shirt, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're gonna go a little lower. Even maybe a bit more. Let's try this. Well, actually, we're gonna compromise, because I think my arms are a little long anyway. So I'm just gonna add just 1 pixel. I think I'm gonna shave a little bit of a hand of on this side, maybe like that. Try something like that. Oh, no, no, I know it's not a request. Don't worry, don't worry. I know, but it's fine. Like I said, if you see it and I don't see it, if I agree, I agree. If I don't, then maybe I won't change it. But I think it was a good point, actually. Just gonna try something real quick. Like I want to feel a little bit of thickness in the sleeve, maybe. This looks a little simple. I'm just gonna try and it's just a bit more interesting, like this. Okay, I think the upper body I'm not too not too unhappy. I think it's all right. I'm gonna try and finish the legs now. I always push it back because I'm scared. So you'll see me like for hours. I'll be like, oh, a little pixel here, a little pixel there. Because I just want to push back the moment where I have to take care of this. Because I know it's gonna be a failure again. But like I said last time, you know, when you're making something, you have to have the courage, and even sometimes it's really frustrating, but you have to stick to it, and if you do, there's a good chance that things will eventually resolve. But it can definitely be a little annoying sometimes. I kind of want to use those legs, which I find a little less boring than those. Like maybe I'll try something like yeah, like those legs rather than those, because those are very basic, you know. Kind of a mix of both, you know. I'm gonna remake them 12 times anyway, so you'll have plenty of opportunities to see many different variants. That I can tell you. I also have no idea how I'm gonna make feet. I think we're just gonna suggest little toes if we can. Something simple. Not much we're gonna be able to do there, I think. We can make them a little big. See if they have like those long feet, you know. Cornelius. You guys remember those films, the old ones, or have you only seen the new ones, the reboots? Because sometimes I feel like people tend to forget about the original movies, you know. They don't remember, or they've never seen them, and for me it's always a bit sad because I feel like people should know about them. They were so good, you know, and they've really transformed the imagination of so many people around the world. At the risk of sounding like a bit snob or extreme, um, actually only like the old ones, like really like, you know. The Even though you know, I admit that the reboots are way better than this thing that Tim Burton did back then in the early 2000s. I don't know what happened there. Maybe Tim Burton happened. I don't know, but um, you know, as much as I respect some of the films that he did that were very creative and fun, I sure don't know what happened on Planet of the Apes. I think he went. I think that's when he started going a little crazy. This man. I don't know what happened, but I feel like since then his films they've become very strange. Not much very interesting going on. It's very bizarre, very strange. I'm gonna flip it. So his legs seem too small compared to his body. I think I'm just gonna shrink. Just gonna shrink the body a little bit. Yeah. And I'm gonna make the legs bigger, longer. Also, there was something I wanted to ask if people here know. If some of you guys they have you yourself stream some creative stuff, whether you draw or especially if you do something like what I do here, pixel art, or if streaming the creation of whatever project you're working on or anything really. You should let me know, or if you know of someone who's making something that you find interesting that would be worth sharing, then don't please whisper me the link or something, and I'll add this in my automated hostings, because when I'm not online, I think it's better to if I can to show some other things that some people may want to see, and I really want to try and discover other people as well. I don't know that many people. I'm not too good at following the tweets, so I'm sure there's a million interesting projects that you guys know about and would like to maybe share. So I'll be happy to know about them. What do we think of that? I don't know if I want actually maybe just trying things real quick. Same value, both legs. I think in that case we can do that actually. I don't know. It was tricky, the legs. It was tricky for me. I'm just gonna thicken the legs a little bit. I cheat this a little bit. I don't mind the legs just a bit more chunky. try this real quick. I think it's all right. I mean, you guys think? I think it's getting there, definitely. I think he's getting. Oh, forgot the lines here in the sleeves. I think he has more or less the right demeanor. No. I think it's all right. I think start to have difficulties in actually seeing him properly, because I've been doing this for a little while, so sometimes it's getting difficult to get a. It's always challenging to get an objective view on it. But I think it's all right. And actually, so Pixel Bleed last time, he had a pretty good idea. I thought about it, and I don't know if you're here, Pixel, but he mentioned the fact that, because I had a dilemma, which is I want to have all those. Oh, you're here. Yeah, remember what you said about having characters that are not necessarily by themselves on a card, but like in in teams or whatnot with a sidekick. And actually, I thought about it more, and I kind of like this idea. I like it quite a lot, actually. So I feel like, especially guys like this, um, it's really hard to think of Zira without Cornelius and vice versa. They're, if you've seen the films, they're very much like a couple. You know, they're a team. They're always together. Um, yeah, either swap them or have them always together, you know, just as a unit almost. And then you treat the couple as you would treat, you know, one single character. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. You can just justify it the way you want. um, but that would be a good thing, because that would really solve this thing of sometimes I don't want to have too many characters from a single movie, but at the same time, um, when you have Cornelius, you know, it's kind of weird not to have Zira, and vice versa. I I can't really think of them as separate. They always hang out together in the film. They're very much this. And it's through their bond that they can overcome all the obstacles and eventually get tailored to the Forbidden Zone and all that stuff. So I think in a case like this, it would be pretty good to have both of them, you know. Uh, yeah, yeah, and that is if I make a video game, because I want to start with a board game with cards and physical stuff first, because I really want to focus on the game aspect, the very simple, you know, very simple mechanics. And I like the idea of making something physical. Um, um, and you know, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't be doing a port or something, some kind of, you know, port on a platform, but I have to think in terms of how things would work, you know, as a board game. You have to think in those terms. But still, you know, it doesn't really change the fact that I think it still can work, no problem. Um, so yeah, so yeah, maybe I ought to make Zira for him. You know, he's kind of sad by himself like this. Like the two of them together, that would probably be better. Uh, yeah. I mean, maybe, probably. I mean, that would be the ideal. Yeah, yeah. Pixel Lead. Yeah, I would like to eventually uh, use some kind of financing, or, you know, crowdfunding to, yeah, to do this. But obviously, there's quite a bit of things to resolve before I can even start thinking about the practical, you know, aspect of that. But yeah, I mean, that would be nice, you know, if possible. That would be cool. I would like to do that, you know. Can tell you one thing is, recently I've played, because I started as an indie game developer back in France, you know, in the 90s, and so kind of my roots are there, um, and that's why I'm always very interested in indie gaming, and I play a lot of indies, and recently I've played quite a bit of indie games on Switch, which is a really good platform for that. So a lot of very good games. Um, Seems like Nintendo, they're very committed to helping the indies to get their games on their platform, which I'm really happy about. But anyway, looking at what's out there, uh, the bar is extremely high, extremely high. Um, it's not enough now to make a cool little game. I feel like to stand out from the crowd, if you're gonna make any sort of entertainment, you know, and in particular gaming, you ought to yourself to make something pretty dope. I mean, just nothing short of incredible if you want to stand any chance, because damn, it's crazy. It's crazy. The stuff that the indies are doing now, in terms of it, on every, you know, from production values to really a pure um, um, ideas, of in new ways of thinking in terms of design, but also in sheer polish of game design and level design. uh it's something else. I'm super impressed by what people do. um I think it's awesome, you know, don't get me wrong. I think see this as a great thing, but I'm thinking that better do something really good if you want to get a chance, even the slightest chance to get a bit noticed. Even the slightest chance. Oh, Inside was incredible. Inside, here's a good example actually. That game, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it for if you haven't played it. I'm not gonna talk about what it is or any of it because it's too good to spoil. But that game made me actually put down the controller a few times, and think, wow, this is something else, holy crap, like just stop play, actually put down the controller and think about it. It was like, this is insane, what they've done. Just on the sheer sort of experience, even like emotional point of view, when you reach the end of the game, it's just it's insane, the how powerful it is, as just as an experience. And it's a real game too. It's a genuine, interesting game to play, with good design and solid mechanics and all of it, really. Yeah, that's very, very impressive. Yeah, I love it. I love it Inside. I hope they make a fortune with this because it's very, very well deserved. Very well deserved. Yeah, I haven't played Life is Strange. Yesterday I got I completely missed it on PC. I don't really play a lot on PC actually, so it's good for me to have the Switch because I get the opportunity to try lots of different things. And I tried Into the Breach. It came out yesterday, and I really loved it. I thought it was super. It's funny because when I looked at that, honestly, one of almost like 50% of why I picked it up was because I knew it was the FTL guys, and so I figured, oh, okay, so, they deserve my interest, um, and on top of that, the reviews seem very, very good, but it felt very much like another, mech warrior slash tank, tactics game. I was like, well, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure it's good, but I'm not particularly excited about playing yet another tactics, boy, was I wrong. It's something else, this thing too. Such a clever design, such a fresh take on the whole tactics genre. Just the fact that it's so quick to play, you can play in small sessions, and you don't feel like you're bogged down with like 2 hour nightmarish maps, as in XCOM 2, even though I've nothing against XCOM 2, but man, you have to commit to this, but yeah, it's such an elegant design, Into the Breach, really, really awesome. And the fact that the environment, that like those super minimalistic 8x8 tiles, super simple, it really resonated with me. I guess because I was doing this stuff, and I was very much into the super minimalistic feel, where everything is super tiny and simple. And so when I saw what they did with their game, I thought that was very, very cool, very well done. Again, I mean, I haven't played too far yet, but so far it's it's hard to fault this game on any aspect of it. Um, you can tell that they've thought about it, you know. Um, but um, yeah, it's really awesome. It's a very good time for people that are. I think I've said that last time, but I feel like it's a great time for people that are creative nowadays. Um, you have so many opportunities to um, if you do something good, to get noticed and to um, to stand out. Um, of course, you know, I'm aware that there's a certain part of chance and you know and timing and all that stuff, but I still feel like if you look overall at the games that have been very successful um, at one point or another, um, I think most of them, if not all of them, they're actually quite special. You know, um, for not necessarily for the right reasons for everyone, but I feel like they all have something that you can tell is a bit makes them a bit different. Like I've been doing those phones for like the last half hour. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I feel like whatever I had like half an hour earlier was better. I'm pretty sure. But now I'm screwed because I save every 2 minutes, so who knows? We'll never know. Can I keep it simple? We'll do that. Uh, I mean, okay. Uh, oh, I am in Southern California, Pixel Bleed, SoCal. I'm south of Los Angeles. Yeah, if you have to go, sure. I don't think I'm gonna stay very long anymore. Anyway, I think I'm pretty much done with this guy, Pixel. And I think just for fun, maybe tomorrow I don't know if I need to do that on stream. I think maybe tomorrow yeah, take care, Pixel Bleed. Thanks for hanging out. It was great to have you here, and I'll see you next time. And maybe next time I think I'll try maybe to do Zira. I feel too sad having him alone there. Doesn't seem right. Have a good one, Pixel. I'm gonna name him Cornelius. What a fun name. Well, guys, I think I'm kind of done with him. Is there anything else that we need to have on him? I don't think so. I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I think we're gonna consider him. Let's have a little shadow for him. Oh, oh wow. Okay, hold on. A little shadow for our guy. Yeah, right. I mean, I think I'm okay with that. I mean, like I said, there's really not that much we can. I feel like there's not much I can do with him because he's. Like I said, I mean, we knew that in the starting that he's a fairly simple. He's a fairly simple. Simple character. I can't really put too much stuff in him. It's very simple design, so I think it's. Can I do a shadow or something here? Not really. It's a bit too dark, I feel. this maybe. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done at this point. Start to have issues trying to figure out what to do. That's never a very good sign. Means that I'm going to start ruining it very soon, if not already done. So I think I'm gonna call it for now. And then so I'm gonna be back on Friday, and we'll see what we do. If you guys are up for it, then maybe we'll give him 0, because poor guy, he's by himself. I think it'd be cool on a car to have them both, you know. I think it would be nice. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do a quick 0 on Friday, or maybe I'll do 0 on my own, and then you'll see it tomorrow or something on Instagram, and then we'll do something else on Friday, depending. But we'll see what the future holds. Okay, guys. It's 11:20. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes stream. Seems like it's about the time it takes for me to do. Well, I guess I talked for like half an hour about the movie first, but around 2 hour mark seems like the average time to make anything for me. This went much faster, I remember last time, but Christine took about that time. He took about that time. He took longer for some reason. Struggled quite a bit with the Leatherface guy. You came a little easier, which surprises me actually, because I was expecting massive amounts of trouble with this guy, especially for the head. Not that it's great, but it's a little better than what I was hoping for. I think it's a little dark still, but we can we'll just push him a little bit. It's okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm done for now. Okay, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Like I said, it really gives me a lot of energy to do that stuff. Knowing that some people are there to watch forces me to really try and be the best I can, and also pushes me forces me to explain a little bit what I'm doing, and you'll see that at least for me, when I try to explain a little bit what I'm doing, I tend to think a little to take more time to think about what I'm doing. And it's never a bad idea to stop a little bit and reflect on what you're doing, rather than go for it and scribble all the time without really thinking. So it's very helpful for me to have even a very small audience. Definitely helps me for sure. I hope you enjoyed what you see, and if you did, Obviously, I would appreciate if you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Twitter is very new. I have no one. I don't even know how people get followers on this thing. I have no idea. But anyway, um, yeah, spread the word too, because the more I'll get people uh, to know about what I'm doing, the better my chances to make it a reality one day. You know, because that's the ultimate end goal is would be to really make a fun game that would be a nice nod at a golden era of movies. That would be great for me to be able to do that. So anyway, enough of the self promotion. Thank you very much. I was super happy to do this guy. Actually, I really love this character, and I'll see you back on Friday. It's gonna be at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so West Coast. Thank you very much. See you on Friday. Bye.